Okay, welcome everybody to our second session of the series. The session is entitled Mind, Evolve and Upgrade. So, if we look at life in general, you will find that life is a constant stream of perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts. This is, in fact, the flow of life. So each one of us is constantly acting, perceiving, feeling, thinking continuously. Now, what's really interesting is that each one of us acts, perceives, feels, and thinks differently. Very, very differently. The question is, why actually does this happen? Why is it that we act, perceive, emote, and think differently? The reason we need to understand this is that our actions will have certain effects. So if we want better effects, we have to understand actions and their cause. So what we explain is that the cause of action is thoughts and feelings. What we classified last week as the mind and the intellect. Then that begs the question as to where our thoughts and feelings come from. How is it that we have such different thoughts and feelings? And therefore, we posit what is called vasanas, right? Vasanas are, here's the, can you see the slide? The definition? So, vasanas are our inherent traits or characteristics or tendencies, preponderances. They are, in fact, the personality in unmanifest form. Now, scientifically speaking, nothing can come from nothing, and therefore we posit vasanas. We've given a name to the unknown origin of our thoughts and feelings as vasanas, and indeed, logically speaking, there is something there because what's interesting is that if you go to sleep as with the thoughts and feelings of Mr. X or Mrs. Y, who you are, and you sleep soundly and deeply, the next morning, you still get up with the thoughts and feelings of Mr. X or Mrs. Y, right? Whoever you are. So, undeniably, there's got to be some sort of continuity. There's got to be some sort of link. So, vasanas, we explain, are our thoughts and feelings in the unmanifest form. Is that okay? Right? Now, what is the relationship between vasanas, thoughts and feelings, and actions? Right? So, the next slide demonstrates that your physical body is what we call the gross body, right? Within this physical body is a subtle body. So the physical gross body is where your activities are, your actions, your day-to-day activities, right? This thing is called the gross body, the physical body, right? Now, this physical body and these activities are a manifestation of your subtle body, which is your thoughts and feelings, just as a full-grown tree is a manifestation of the sapling. Everything and anything that is in that sapling would necessarily be in that tree. the traits and characteristics of the sapling will faithfully represent themselves in the full-grown tree. Now, where do the qualities of the subtle body come from? Where do the qualities of the sapling come from? We explained that the qualities of the sapling come from the seed. In the seed lies the DNA or the unmanifest qualities of the sapling. Similarly, your thoughts and feelings comprise your subtle body, and the cause of these thoughts and feelings is your vasanas, which is what we call the causal body. So, seed, sapling, tree. Similarly, causal body, subtle body, gross body. Everything in that seed will manifest in the sapling and later go on to manifest in the tree. In exactly the same way, everything that is in your causal body, your bundle of vasanas, this is what your vasanas are, your inherent traits, your latent unmanifest qualities, all that will manifest in your thoughts and feelings, and your thoughts and feelings will manifest in your activities. Is that okay? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Yeah? Now, what's the actual relationship between vasanas, thoughts and feelings, and activities? Causal body, subtle body, gross body. What is the connect? So your vasanas manifest as your thoughts. And your thoughts just manifest as your desires because thoughts are a big bundle of, the desires are just a big bundle of thoughts. One thought does not make a desire, but when you entertain that thought again and again and again and again, it develops, it multiplies into a desire. Incidentally, one thought may not propel an action, but a bundle of thoughts developed consciously or unconsciously will definitely propel into action. And then these actions, incidentally, create further vasanas, like a full-grown tree creates further seeds. So vasana, thought, desire, action, vasana, thought, desire, action. And here you have the demonstration of how each of us perpetuates our own nature, our own behavior, our own thoughts and feelings. This is how, consciously or unconsciously, we continue our way of functioning. Whether we appreciate it or not, this is how it actually happens. So, vasanas manifest as our personality, our particular type of perception, action, emotion, and thought. Just as whatever is written onto a DVD, of which there are none, I believe, anymore, but you get the point. Whatever is written into a DVD will faithfully manifest on the screen. There can be nothing on that screen that is not in that DVD. So you could say that what you see on the screen is a faithful representation of what is written into the DVD. Similarly, each of us is at any time a faithful manifestation of our own vasanas. Interestingly, the Bhagavad Gita says, Guna Guneshu Vartante Nigraha Kim Karishyati, which sounds really cool, but what it basically means is your vasanas will manifest as your personality. External restraint can't really do much. An interesting tip for your kids. Yeah. Vasanas will manifest whatever they are. But please do not digress into parenting right now. That was just an example because some of you have already gone off at a tangent. Oh my God, right? Hold on. We've got stuff to discuss. So we are at any time a faithful manifestation of our vasanas. Is that clear? Is that okay? Now, these vasanas are classified into three types, and practically speaking, they manifest as the three thought textures, or what you might call the 3 states of subtle body, or what you might understand in simple practical terms as the 3 states of mind. Is that okay? I'm just going to take a quick moment to request everybody to switch on their videos, please. As we have mentioned before, it's very important that you be engaged and present, unless you are traveling somewhere, in which case it's not ideal to be connected like this. But for those who are not traveling, take a moment to switch on your videos, please. Right? So we are at any given moment a faithful manifestation of our vasanas, our latent, inherent, innate tendencies, traits, qualities, etc. Now, these tendencies, traits, qualities called vasanas have 3 distinct types, textures, natures, and here they are. Take a moment to look at the screen. Now, for practical purposes, I request you to write this down or take a screenshot, because we will be referring to this slide for a good portion of our discussion. So each of us has 3 textures of vasanas. The lowest is called tamas, inactive. Higher than that is called rajas. It is called hyperactive. And the finest of all is called sattva, which is transactive. Right? Now let's get back to what we were discussing. So each of us is a combination of these 3 thought textures. Now, to understand why you act, or why we act, think, and feel in a certain way, it is important to understand our vasanas. Not only ours, but anybody, because for practical reasons, it's important to understand why somebody functions in a certain way. You know, you may have observed that there are certain things about yourself that you like, certain things about yourself that you don't like, certain things about other people you like, certain things about other people you don't like. Now, it's important to understand how and why this is happening. What's actually happening, right? So let's get back to the 3 textures of vasanas. Does anybody remember what the vasanas are? Anybody? What are the vasanas? Yes. Sorry, I can't read the name. Go ahead. Yes.
It's tamas, rajas, and sattva.
That's perfect. But what are vasanas?
So they are the inherent personality traits that we have in us.
That's right. Which will then manifest as your thoughts and feelings, which will then manifest as your activities, right? So I hope you've written that down. We'll start from the lowest because it's the easiest to follow, right? So tamas. What is the texture of tamas? Very interesting. Now, while we're discussing this, please do appreciate this is not to classify other people. This is not for character assassination of left, right, and center, everybody else. This is really only for self-analysis, for self-discovery. Yeah. So while we're discussing, if your thoughts are shooting off at, I know a guy like this. No, I knew it. There was always something wrong with it. Please don't encourage that jumping around internally. Just follow through carefully. It's for self-analysis, self-development, not really to classify and categorize other people, as you'll see. So tamas is the lowest thought texture. Now, what is this thought texture? This thought texture manifests as, now carefully note this down, inertia. lethargy, indifference, heedlessness, carelessness, recklessness, dullness, inactivity. Because in such a person, neither the intellect is entertaining too many thoughts, nor is the mind entertaining too many emotions. So there is very little response to the work. That's the logical reason why a person behaves like that, right? It's called tamas. So poor development of mind and intellect. So there's hardly any or no ideas, emotions. So not much action or reaction to the world. So the person lives a mechanical, unthinking, unquestioning, passive, routine existence bereft of understanding or purpose. Do you get that? So the behavior would be heedless, careless, indifferent, reckless, practically asleep. This is the nature of tamas. Now, how many of you remember the law of inertia? Apart from Sita, because Sita should be remembering it now. What about the rest of us? How many of you remember the law of inertia? If you do, put up your hand and repeat it. Oh, yes, Deepa.
I mean, an object stays in the same place and doesn't move back and forth. I mean, that's the law of inertia, right?
Well, that's one version of it. Okay, fine. To be a little more complete, maybe. Anybody else? What Deepa saying is not wrong, but anybody else? Anybody else before we give Sita a chance because she'll actually state it correctly? Anybody else want to go for it? Okay, fine. In the interest of time, yes, Sita, go for it.
A tendency to like do nothing.
Hey, Sita. Vish, go for it.
What?
An object remains in a state of rest or motion unless it is externally moved or activated.
Sita, go learn from that. So, so an object at rest or in uniform motion stays at rest or in uniform motion unless acted upon by an external force. This, friends, is tamas in a nutshell. A person at rest or in uniform motion will remain at rest or in uniform motion unless propelled by an external force. This is tamas. Either nothing happens, or a mechanical routine existence without any thinking. There's lots of confusion, but there's no thinking. So don't oh, but I think so much about it. No. There's a whole lot of confusion, but thinking is not happening. Thinking is an entirely different thing from confusion. And just to be very clear, there's no such thing as overthinking, which I'm sure many of you are wondering about, but we can take that up later. Right. So this is tamas, a state where the thoughts are in a constricted in a state of deep freeze. So there is no proactive analysis going on. It's just we take things for granted. Oh, this is the only way it can be. Now, within what we believe as the only way it can be is what we are thinking, round and round and round and round and round. So we never really break free of that preconceived notion, preconceived ideas. Mechanical routine existence propelled by mechanical routine thoughts and feelings. This is called tamas. Right? To give you a very quick example, very short, brief, quick example. So there was an elderly relative who used to live with us decades and decades ago. And she was very sweet, but frankly quite tamasic. And her contribution to the house was to prepare breakfast for us. And invariably, without any shadow of a doubt, she would burn the toast, because we had at that time a toaster that would not self pop up. It was a manual pop up toaster. The rest is obvious, right? So, with all the dearest and sweetest of intentions, she would burn the toast every single day until one fine day, by a stroke of extreme good fortune, the toaster itself burnt out. And we were all in great joy, because that means, without offending her feelings, we could say, thanks, no more toast, right? So that's what happened. So one fine day, impulsively, she took off to the market to get us a new toaster. Now, no marks for guessing what toaster she brought back. Anyone? What toaster did she bring back?
A mechanical one again.
Manual pop-up toaster, 1921 model, if it existed at that time. And all of us were saying, why did you buy the same thing? Her point was, oh, I didn't imagine or think there was anything else. This is tamas. Do you understand? The inability to know that you do not know, if you follow. Mechanical routine existence. God bless her soul. She and the toaster are up in heaven now. But the point is that this is tamas, right? So it is a lazy, procrastinating, resistant, lethargic, slothful, stubborn way of functioning. Because, friends, thinking requires effort, right? So to actually put in the effort to think and then see that a change is required is a considerable amount of effort. Tamasic person can't do it. Right? So their goal is to get back to inactivity at the fastest possible opportunity. Their motto in life is never put off till tomorrow what you can put off till day after tomorrow. You understand? And never put off till day after tomorrow what you need not do at all. You get that? In our part of the world, we call it karenge, dekhenge, if you understand what I mean. Karenge, dekhenge means we will do, we will see, but when? Right? There's no time bound anything. Hoega. Are hoega. You understand that? Hoega. Procrastinate, 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 procrastinate. This is tamas. Now, the next texture, the next nature, the next quality is called rajas, right? Very different from tamas. So what is rajas? Rajas manifests as thoughts and feelings that are desire-ridden. And therefore, they are frenzied, pressured, involved, attached, disturbed, worried, anxious, constantly coupled with stress and strain, result orientation. This is called rajas. Tamas is thoughts in deep freeze. Rajas is thoughts on the boil, if you get what I mean, right? Constantly boiling, right? So the activities that arrive from these constantly bubbling thoughts, so to speak, are impulsive. They are reactionary. They are strained. They are unconcerted, inconsistent, poor effort to productivity ratio. Do you follow that? Can you see that? Does that make sense, right? Such a person will certainly acquire, but the pressure of their own limitless desires will never let them enjoy what they have acquired, because they are busy acquiring more. And there you have a lot of society presented before you. So desperately busy acquiring that there is no time, energy, or capacity to enjoy what you already have. Because the desires are already leaping forward to the next. And such a person's thought is, when I get this, I'll be happy. When I get this, I'll be happy. But when will that be? When? Just yesterday, we received a somewhat unfortunate piece of information where a young means, it's a very comparative word. The guy is, I don't know, approximately 40, 42, right? Don't make faces. That's young where I'm standing. so this guy, wonderful guy, bright, smart, capable, active, two little kids, promising future, driving himself. Suddenly yesterday, we got the information that he simply had a heart attack and passed. It's a bit of a shock. I don't know for you, but we knew the gentleman and we're very fond of him. So suddenly, right, the pressure of Rajas, you understand? So such a person, their desires are inevitably divergent. You get that? So they are always being yanked helplessly. They are literally shredding the fabric of their own peace of mind. You understand that? They are literally shaking it into pieces by the divergent desires. They are the ones who are constantly stimulatable by the external world. Tamasic person, no stimulatable. Cannot stimulate the guy. That guy is what we call space cadet. He's in La La Land. You understand? He's fast asleep, that guy. He doesn't know what's happening around him. This guy is constantly reactionary, constantly reacting. You understand that? Constant vibration, constant agitation. This is his condition. How do you think such a person is going to be productive? Or if he's productive, he's not going to be optimally productive. And to the little extent that he does produce, where is the chance that he's ever going to enjoy what he's got? There is no chance. He has properly written his life off. No chance of productive, no chance of enjoyment. To be able to enjoy what you have to have appetite. No, if your mind is constantly, supposing you're sitting in a restaurant with your mind running at 160 miles an hour, will you really be able to eat anything? Obviously not, right? Where's the question? So this is Rajas. They can acquire, but they're trapped in the hamster wheel of acquisition. They can never enjoy anything. Ever. They will have a fabulously beautiful house and they will rush at 7 o'clock in the morning, wherever they need to go, and come back at 11 o'clock at night here in Bombay or wherever it is in the world. Who enjoys the house? Every Christmas and every New Year, people gather and say, oh, what a lovely house you have. Yes, you say, I wish I could enjoy it. Right? What's happening? There is no ability to enjoy. Or fabulous house, and our desires are, but I want to go there for a holiday. Then why did you make your own house so beautiful? For who? For what? It's a lovely house. So why not enjoy it? Why not have what they call a vacation in your own home? What a lovely thing. No, boring. Somewhere else. Must go somewhere else. You understand? Rajas. And some of the homes we visited in the recent weeks, they are such lovely homes. Most of your homes, all the homes that I visited at least, are beautiful. What lovely homes. We would love to come there for a holiday. You guys are going somewhere else for a holiday. What sense does that make? Right? Such lovely homes. Rajas. Why? Because somewhere in some magazine, on some ad, there was spend 2 weeks in ABC country with a glass in your hand, sitting by some bush on the beach. Bus. Ho gayi baat. Now that's what we have to do. Huh? Anyway, it's your choice, but you get the point, right? So this is rajas, divergent desires. Desire to have some hectically fit looking body and the desire to not go to the gym and sleep. They don't coexist. No, practically speaking, you have to appreciate there is a way that we have to function to organize ourselves. It's not going to work like that, right? To be there all the time for my youngsters and to have a full blown career and constantly elevate oneself in that career. You guys got to be realistic, yeah? You got to be realistic, right? You have to be able to, and if you want to do that, even that is possible, to have a full blown career and to be there for your family, etc., etc. But for that, you have to have the next thought quality. It's called sattva. What is sattva? Sattva is the highest thought quality. Sattva is a state where the thoughts and feelings are serene, objective, mature, unattached, contemplative, independent, not reactionary, not externally impulsive, not stimulatable. Do you get that? Where the personality is independent. So therefore, less impulsively reactive to the stimulation from the world. Another example could be you have a test tube, right? Now in this test tube, you add empty test tube first, yeah? So you add some acid. What's going to happen? Anyone? What's going to happen if you add acid into an empty test tube?
Nothing.
Sorry?
Nothing.
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 Exactly. Nothing. Now, if you add it into a test tube with another chemical, what's going to happen?
Reaction.
Immediately there's
Reaction.
going to be a reaction, right? So the first one is tamas. Anything that the world sends your way, oblivious, asleep to what is going on around us, right? Tamas. Such a person, a tamasic person, would rather not be comfortable than create an environment in which he or she is comfortable. If you give them that comfort, if you give them stuff on a platter, they will readily accept it, but they are not willing to put in any effort themselves. You get that? They are not willing to put in any effort on their own. Nothing. But if you give it, they will immediately grab it. Do you understand that? Do you get that? Immediately. But ask them, here, help yourself. No. They will get by with the lowest possible activities required to maintain themselves. Lowest level of activity. Rajasic person is one who is constantly burgeoning with a desires and therefore constantly hyperactive, continuously, right? I'm just recapping. Such a person is constantly rushing through life, continuously rushing. There is no, who said, what is this life so full of care? We have no time to stop and stay. Like that. A constant rush. No ability to pause and take stock. Indeed, a Rajasic person suffers from continuous inflamed desires because he never pauses to actually observe the privilege that he is in and thereby generate a sense of gratitude. No gratitude, because the hunger for the next acquisition is so powerful. And friends, don't mistake, this is not only hunger for material. This could be hunger for anything: reputation, validation, name, fame, power, anything, anything. Control over the family members. It could be anything, right? Constant hunger, continuous hunger. Sattva is an independent state where the personality is relatively free of desires, because the person is evolved enough to understand that happiness is not an externally acquirable commodity, but an internally resident condition. So such a person understands that the world will do whatever it wants or needs, but I have to be independent for my happiness and my peace of mind. That cannot depend upon other people. It cannot depend upon objects. It cannot depend upon weather. It cannot depend upon beings. It cannot depend upon transaction of emotions. It cannot depend upon what other people say or do. It depends on me. My happiness depends on me. So this is the wisdom of a sattvic person. Tamasic person is asleep. There's no question of wisdom. Rajasic person is confused. Sattvic person is clear. Do you get that? Just to confuse you a tiny bit more, a tamasic person and a rajasic person could externally look the same, because tamasic person is not reacting, sattvic person is not reacting. Tamasic person is not reacting out of ignorance. Sattvic person is not reacting out of wisdom. And only he will know the difference. We don't know. Do you get that? This is why we say don't bother to assess other people. It's about yourself. Right. Now, what is interesting is each of these can be understood as ignorance of our true identity. Now, do you remember we explained last week that the ego is like a mask that we wear from birth? You remember that? Don't say Vedanta said live in the present. That was 1 week ago. We forgot. We don't live in the past. For heaven's sake, please, you have to remember the concepts. Yeah. So we explain the concept of the ego. Excuse me. It's like a mask, right? So this mask has these three flavors. Every one of us is wearing an ego, and everybody's ego is undeniably a combination of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Is that understandable? Each one of us is a combination of sattva, rajas, and tamas. So commonsensically, if we are all a combination of all three, and we are all different, apparently, can anybody commonsensically state why? Anyone?
Because they've got different combinations of the vasanas.
Different combinations of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Each one of us is a different combination of inactive, hyperactive, and transactive. Not transactive, transactive. You see the difference between the two? Just making it clear. Transactive is rajas. Transactive is sattva. Just to be clear, right? Each one of us is a combination of all three. So the preponderance, meaning the majority of tamas in me, would therefore make me what? Anyone? The new people, come on, guys. What's up?
Tamasic person.
Tamasic person. Doesn't mean I don't have rajas and satma, but tamas is in predominance. Predominance of rajas now, obviously, predominance of rajas in me would make me
Rajasic.
Rajas.
Doesn't mean I don't have tamas and sattva. Predominance of sattva in me would make me
Sattvic.
sattvic. Doesn't mean I don't have tamas and rajas, right? All of us are a combination of all three. Now, what is interesting to note is that none of these three can exist alone. The very composition of a human being is all three. Every human being is a combination of all three. So now, let's see how many of us are in any doubt that we would like to get a greater sattvic component. Anyone? In other words, would anybody prefer to remain in tamas, mechanical, routine, unthinking existence? Does anybody care to increase their rajas, anxiety, worry, strain, stress, a sense of constantly never being able to be at rest internally? Is anybody on that route? Because then this class has no value for you, because that we can achieve by ourselves, right? That's not a problem. So commonsensically, each one of us would want to enhance our sattvic content, right? Now, question is, how would you help? Let's consider a case study. How would you help a predominantly tamas person called tamasic? How would you, so think about yourself. If I am predominantly tamasic, what could you do to help me or help yourself elevate yourself from tamas? Anyone? What could we do? Think about it.
You could motivate a person. You could educate a person, and then you could hope that they would start coming out from being tamasic.
Where's Kevin? There he is. Yes. Okay. How would I do it with myself? If I observe in myself that I'm so lazy, I could not be bothered with anything, how would I motivate myself?
You got to get into good, company like what we're doing today. Education, knowledge, understanding. It starts with that.
Okay.
And then,
what is easier than understanding?
Give some activity, some physical activity.
What will promote physical activity?
Some positive affirmations like I can do it.
Some
Hunger.
money or something, some
Who said
reward.
hunger? Put up your hand. Who said hunger?
Wish.
Basically, hunger. You see, you need to incite some desires in the person. Even if it is desire for safety, even if it is desire for security, you tell the guy, if I do not do this basic, I am not going to survive. Or if I want that, I got to do something. So you encourage the person to have some desires, even if they are selfish, some basic desires. I mean, please don't mistake that we are saying encourage selfish desires. What we are, because they are the cause of severe mental agitations. What we are saying is, you have to encourage the person to achieve something, even if it is their own sustenance. They have to be encouraged to achieve that. Do you get that? They have to be encouraged. Now imagine a person who, so the person becomes active, right? Slowly, carefully, the person becomes active. How will you encourage tamas? Keep giving the person everything on a platter. You want to get up at 12 and have your lunch on a tray? No problem at all. I will bring it up for you. No problem at all. And thereby you increase the tamas. I'm not saying any of you do that. You get the point, right? If you hand out all the time, there is no ability to do anything on their own. Anybody. There will be no interest because it's all coming, right? So to encourage some kind of activity to get out of that tamasic attitude, the person has to take responsibility for themselves. They have to be made to take responsibility for themselves. That's the point, right? Now, if a person is already taking responsibility for themselves and they are doing their thing and they are rushing around and they are full of self-centered, ego-centric desires, right? And they are rushing from position to position, point to point, moment to moment, rushing to feed their own desires. What is going to be their mental state? Anyone?
Agitated.
Agitated? Worried?
Exhausted.
Exhausted? Agitated constantly? So how can we help such a person? Such a person who is rajasic, the direction of their desires can be changed. In other words, they can be encouraged to perform more service-oriented versus self-oriented activities. More unselfish action. In other words, working towards a common cause. Working towards some goal or purpose larger than just yourself. It's called a common cause, a common goal. For example, a person may be frantically rushing, worrying, hassling about the office, right? The work. The person could be, because they need the paycheck. They want the paycheck. The person, their attitude could be changed slightly to the idea of doing your obligations to the very best of your ability, to perform your role to the best of your ability in the office, whatever you're doing. Inevitably, the check will come, but the anxiety and worry is eliminated to a large extent because the focus is doing my duty to the best of my ability. That is the focus. So a person from Rajas gradually becomes more sattvic because action is in your hand. Result is not in your control. A Rajasic person is always fixated on result. A sattvic person is process driven, action oriented. He is focused on doing the best he can do, performing actions to the best of his abilities, his obligatory actions. Rajasic person acts on desire. Sattvic person acts on what you call duty or obligation. He understands what needs to be done and executes the action. But, friends, tamas is the thickest, grossest ego or ignorance. You remember we explained the personality is like a mask. You remember that, right? Covering your real identity that hides beneath the ego. It's called the divine self within. It's called your true identity, whether you appreciate, do not appreciate, know, do not know, care, do not care. It makes no difference at all. Beneath your personality, waiting to be unveiled, is your true identity, which is called the self spirit, it is also called God. Doesn't matter what you call it. That, friends, is the abode, the home, the resource of real peace and bliss. So the personality is a mask covering your true identity. So a predominantly tamasic personality is the thickest, grossest form of ignorance. Where the ignorance is thick, dense, right? It covers the divine self within like a womb covers a fetus. There is no way to pull the baby out early. It's thick, it's dense, you see, you'll have to give it time. Rajas is also a mask covering the true divinity within, the divine self within, right? A Rajasic personality, the ignorance is less dense. You can get a hint of the divine within, but there's too much confusion, right? So for such a person, the desires or the rajas covers the divine self like dust on a mirror. In tamas, tamas covers the self like a womb covers a fetus. In rajas, the desires or the ego or the rajas covers the self like dust on a mirror. So you have to put in effort to wipe away the dust. But when you wipe away the dust, you can see your reflection. Removing rajas is not as easy as dusting your house, please. It's just an example. So don't get erroneous ideas. It's just an example. Treat it as such. But the idea is that you can do something about it. You can wipe it away, right? You can eliminate it because there's confusion. Confusion can be eliminated through knowledge, through wisdom. Now, this you will agree. But what is surprising, friends, is that sattva is also ignorance. Sattva is also a mask. That is interesting. Because until now, we have thought, wow, sattva is really the place to be. Sattva is the place to escalate to grow to, but sattva is not the place to remain. Some of us are thinking, yeah, but let me at least get to sattva. Yeah, sure, all of us are in that position. But the point is, sattva is not the place to remain. You remember we mentioned that no one of these three textures can remain alone by itself. So friends, what we can do is merely to eliminate our rajas and tamas. If you are following, sattva is simply the elimination of laziness and selfishness. Eliminate laziness means I'll act. Eliminate selfishness means I'll act calmly, confidently, peacefully. This is sattva in a nutshell. A simplified concept, right? So, when you keep eliminating your tamas and your rajas in your personality, how do you do it? Is by using your intellect. You remember each one of us, we mentioned that each one of us has a mind and an intellect. Our mind is a helpless manifestation of our vasanas. Please. However, each one of us has what is called independent choice of action. Which means that whatever our vasanas, we can choose an action apart from the vasanas. Which means if I have a vasana for laziness, I can choose to combat that and go to the gym. Do you get that? Yes, no, maybe. So the first time I decide, tomorrow I am going to the gym. When 4 o'clock comes for me to go to the gym, what is likely? Let's be honest here, guys.
Look for excuses.
You look correct. Exactly. See, brilliance is already oozing from each one of you. You will look for excuses. Correct? You will look for excuses. Tomorrow, again, you will say, no, 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 no. I got to go to the gym. What is likely to happen?
Something else important will come up.
Bullseye. Very good. Excellent. This is what you call speaking from experience. Something else will come up. Then, now again and again and again and again, when you do that, at some point, can you not appreciate that you will end up in the gym? So basically, you have gone against your vasana, correct? Isn't it? You have gone against that vasana for laziness. You have made it. This is what independent choice of action can do. I'm just giving you an example. And that, friends, is practically speaking your intellect, not your mind. This is how your intellect can rewrite the DNA of your thinking and feeling. It can thus improve your vasanas. This is the power of your own intellect. Now, for this, the intellect has to be developed. And practically speaking, friends, the only way to develop the intellect is to nourish it on the laws and principles of the subject of Vedanta. You've got to study this subject on a daily basis, non-negotiable. This is where you all switch off your internal listening mechanisms. Now he's saying every day, no chance, not happening. Choice is yours. Consequence is also yours. That you have to understand. Choice is yours, but consequence is also yours. I want an apple tree, but I refuse to go and sow the apples, seeds. Then you're going to have an interminable wait because there ain't no apple tree coming. Do you get that? The universe functions on cause and effect. You can't say, I will deprioritize my growth, but I want the fruit of growth. You cannot say, you can say whatever you want. It's not going to happen. In simple terms, it's not going to happen. Right? And a practical tip, the rajas in us keeps prioritizing what we are attached to. You understand that? The rajas in us keeps hyper prioritizing what we are attached to. So it never lets us see, hey, you've got to get past this. You've got to reprioritize your life. You've got to become sattvic. You've got to use your intellect. Now, another very interesting point, friends, is that this sattva, rajas, tamas, consider, look at the screen now. It manifests at certain times. This is very interesting. Each one has a time window. So practically speaking, activity peaks between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. After 6 p.m., you will observe activities are on the decline. And if there are activities happening, they are more sensual, indulgent, negligent, unwinding, what you call consumption of intoxicants, sort of indulgent behavior, right? Consider it. So it's interesting that the concept of alcohol consumption is usually pertinent post 7 p.m. It's hardly likely that somebody will invite you to scrambled eggs and scotch. It's very unlikely, right? In the morning, at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's almost, I can't imagine anybody would, right? Or anybody would accept that invitation, right? It's too early. But the same thing becomes quite acceptable post a certain time in the evening. You get it? Do you see that? Post a certain time in the evening, the clothes we wear become okay. The things we say become okay. The things we eat, drink become okay. The things we don't want to look at become okay. The things we are willing to try become okay after a certain time. Please consider this, right? All these ideas are a buffet. You take what you want, right? But the truth will not change. Tamas. So this happens from 6 p.m. further and further and further. Tamas rises. The tamas window becomes more and more open from 6 p.m. onwards, deep into the night, right? Absolute tamas is sleep. So everybody sleeps, right? At whatever time. Sattva, friends, ironically manifests the window, sattva window manifests between 4 and 6 a.m. in the morning. This is interesting because almost nobody gives themselves the sattvic window. Why? Because societal behavior and norms is generally rajasic, selfish, right? So the mind is so hyperactive during the day that as we grow into the evening, we need a longer and longer time to unwind. The longer time to unwind, the later you sleep. The later you sleep, how is it possible to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to access your sattva window? You get it? It's not possible. So, friends, here is an opportunity to know how the three gunas manifest and at what times the three gunas manifest. Use your morning time for the study of Vedanta. Those who are interested, you can message us privately. We can share how to begin this study. You have to begin the study. You can't be negligent. What you are neglecting is your own productivity and peace of mind, right? So, the subject of Vedanta, when digested by the intellect, will elevate and upgrade the personality, evolve the mind, the personality, evolve our inner nature to a more sattvic component. Now, what happens is to complete the picture, when you completely eliminate tamas and rajas in your personality, 99.999999% sattva can't exist on its own. So what happens is that when you have done all you can, the last trace of tamas and rajas is gone, sattva can't exist. None of them can exist on their own. What happens, friends, naturally speaking, is that your ego dissolves and reveals your divine self. This is called the state of self-realization or spiritual realization or enlightenment. So here we have the path of human life quite clearly explained in understandable terms so that we can do something about it. To grow as an individual, simply upgrade your personality from tamas to rajas to sattva by studying these eternal laws of life, conscientiously, sincerely, with all interest in self-development. Right? And to that end, what we propose is our next session next week, which will explain the mechanics of eliminating vasanas. How to eliminate these vasanas. The method to eliminate these vasanas is called yoga, but as a precaution, it is yoga beyond the mat. It has nothing to do with asanas. And this is what we will be discussing at our next meeting. Right? Is that okay? Thank you.